All right. Sharon, thank you for that. So that piece, before you came through for this G20 summit and as well as the broadcasts we are doing now, fascinating point being made. Something about the size and focus of the G20, it would seem, is what the debate was about.
Well, I think you see the repudiation of the agenda that South Africa has put forward in this G20 summit that has been asserted and affirmed by the member states gathered at this leaders summit. And then you hear from this important panel on wealth inequality, a member of that, Professor Gayatri Ghosh, who is a development economist at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. And it was interesting to hear her perspective that were the United States to sort of whittle it down back to the original mandate of the G20, which is essentially to focus on macroeconomic stability, market stability, then it risks becoming irrelevant because the argument has been that if you only focus on that narrow mandate, you are then ignoring these intractable issues, poverty, food security, artificial intelligence, if you will. The list is long in terms of what this critical minerals and beneficiation and the economic prosperity that you want that to imbue. She's warning that if you then cut out all those elements and return to the G20 of old, you then risk becoming irrelevant. And she talks about how she hopes that were the United States to then assert that perspective, that the rest of the G20 will navigate around them and really focus on the United Kingdom's presidency, which speaks to the concluding paragraphs of the G20 declaration.
Actually, that's where I wanted to take you to say, perhaps that's partly why you're starting to see that projection forward that says to the UK and beyond. But also it's an important conversation to be having now, Sharon, because this session that's getting underway at this hour includes a report on the G20 at 20, which will include reviewing lessons that were learned over the last 20 years as we bring Dr. Mzwanele Ntwanti, who is a G20 senior researcher at the Institute for Economic Justice. Dr. Ntwanti, we will talk to you in just a moment. We're just showing our viewers the president taking his seat inside Hall 6, which is the main venue for the plenary for the leaders. So as you come in, Dr. Ntwanti, that point that I'd like you to pick up from that point, that piece that we were playing now, talking about what happens with the G20 going forward under the presidency of the United States, which has mockingly called this one the G100 and saying that it has lost focus, too many issues on the table. We are also looking at G20 at 20, reviewing the lessons of the past. What's your take? What do you think this broadened mandate that includes other factors that affect the global economy as opposed to focusing on the global economy itself to the exclusion of these other factors, as well as the other countries that get invited to this summit?
Thank you very much for having me. I think, for instance, let's talk about, for instance, the priorities that South Africa had, which was basically disaster risk management, scaling up resources for that, the just energy transitions, harnessing critical minerals, and inclusive growth. Those are very important elements, and I think there was also a good take of things such as inequality, debt, sustainability, etc. So the G20 is unable to move in its macroeconomic
Dr. Ntwanti, I'm sorry to do this to you. We need to fix something about your sound, and then we will come back. I promise you, we'll come back in a moment and pick up with that point with Dr. Mzwanele Ntwanti, G20 senior researcher at the Institute for Economic Justice. They do track this quite a bit, yeah?
Yeah.